Today we're going to talk about Taiko in the South. Disclaimer here is that we are not experts on the southern region. We're a pretty widespread region. I myself only moved to the South in 2020, but we did send out a survey to gather information. A lot of you responded, so we put together some information. But we'll talk a little bit through this presentation about who your Southern Regional Ambassadors are. Basically Tammy, Keith, and myself. What is the Southern region? Which states and territory make up TCA's Southern region? Who the TCA South mascot is, and then we'll talk a little bit about the groups in the South, some challenges that our Southern Taiko groups face that we got out of a survey that we sent to folks in the South. And lastly, we want to talk about what can TCA do for you, and specifically talk about and hear about what Tammy, Keith, and I, as your regional ambassadors, might be able to do to help you guys. So without further ado, I'll let Tammy go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Tammy Wilcox. I play Taiko with Earth Spirit Taiko and Triangle Taiko. Keith?
I'm Keith Carter. I've been playing with Triangle Taiko for about 7 years and Earth Spirit for about 6 years.
I'm Therese Stephen. I've been playing with Triangle Taiko since 2020, but I've been playing Taiko since 2005. And I also help out with Triangle's Special Taiko group, which is a Taiko group for Special Olympians. And I just put up our email addresses here. We are your regional ambassadors. We want to find a way to help let you know about what TCA is all about, connect you with TCA if you're not sure. As well as find out any information from you guys that we could maybe raise up to TCA to see how TCA can help our unique and diverse region. All right, so these are the regions in TCA, and as you can see, the southern region is pretty big. I think we're only eclipsed by, well, Canada's a really big region. It's not on the map here. But these are all the states that are included in the southern region. And we also include Puerto Rico. But so far, we don't know of any Taiko groups out in Puerto Rico. But this is the TCA Taiko South region. So here's a larger map of all the regions and all the different mascots. Anne-Marie Kessing put together little mascots for each of the regions. And want to talk a little bit about our southern region mascot. It is Ari Gator, little play on arigato, the word thank you in Japanese. So Ari Gator does represent all of these regions. However, the American alligator doesn't actually exist in 2 of these places. So if you guys know which 2 out of these you can't find an alligator in nature, pop it in the chat or just shout it out. We're just gonna run through here and see what the answer is. Any takers? It's Tennessee and Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So one of the things, like I said, in preparing for this showcase, we sent out a survey, kind of blasted it on the Taiko community Facebook group, which is a great way to connect with other Taiko players. And we got a lot of responses. And in that, we heard from a few people who are looking for Taiko and a few people who are looking to start a group. And thanks to that interaction, we made a match here. And this is the kind of thing that we hope as TCA regional ambassadors we can help do, help foster some networking, some connections. So moving on from that, let's talk about those Southern Taiko groups. I'm not going to go through all of these. Like I said, we're not necessarily experts on all of the history of Southern Taiko groups. So if you, in looking through these listed groups, the ones that are in red with the asterisks after their name, these are groups that we believe are no longer active. But if you happen to know otherwise, let us know in the chat. Hey, Nashville Taiko. Let us know in the chat, and or you can connect with us afterwards. Or if there's a group that you know of in one of these states that we haven't listed, that we don't know about, definitely pop it in the chat. Let us know afterwards. We really want to try to gather as much information as we can about the groups in the South, but we are pretty spread out and we don't all know each other. So in green and in bold are either new groups, relatively new groups, or groups that are starting to form. And again, if you know of a group that is new or looking to form, we'd love to hear about it. And hopefully, if you are from a group in the South, you see your group's name here or on this next list. So you can see there are definitely places where there are no known Taiko groups, and places like Texas that actually have quite a few Taiko groups. So next up, we have some introductions of short introductions of Taiko groups that responded to our survey. I know that we have some of you here on the call, so we prepped little short intros, but if you want to pop off of mute and add a little something or present your group, feel free to drop that in the chat. Let us know if you'd like to present your group's intro. Certainly welcome to do that, but let's kick it off with North Carolina Taiko.
Okay. Triangle Taiko has had early on in their history a bit of a struggle with neighbor complaints about sound, but we now are in a position where we have a very good practice room, free storage, and it's all based on the fact that we have a connection to Special Taiko and community service through volunteer work with the Raleigh Parks and Recreation.
So for Earth Spirit Taiko, due to COVID, we lost our indoor practice space. So we practice outdoors 7 to 9 months a year, and just kind of rent a temporary space during the cold months. We have no dedicated practice space. And we take our Taiko home with us, so which is nice.
And then Special Taiko, I mentioned it a little bit before. Special Taiko is a group for Special Olympic athletes that was founded by Triangle Taiko. And an interesting thing about them is that in 2010, they were invited by the Japan Taiko Foundation to perform at Japan's Disabled Persons Nippon Taiko Festival. So that was a really big deal and a big trip for all of the folks in the group. All right. Next up, we have Florida Taiko. Go ahead, Tammy, you can kick that one off.
Okay, so Matsuriso is in Orlando. They've been there since 1988. They're known by millions around the world. They're much loved group they perform in Walt Disney's Epcot Center, and they have an annual Orlando Japan Festival in November where they invite guest Taiko performers, and one of their performers is a former Triangle Taiko member, Mari, and she wanted to say hello to anybody here from Triangle Taiko. So. And then Fushi Daiko, I don't think anybody's here from them, right? So they've been
I'm here. Hi,
Oh,
hi, Tammy.
Hi,
My name's
okay.
Chris. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You want to go ahead then?
Sure. I'm actually a former member of Triangle Taiko as well. I
Oh,
was here
Hey.
in 2006 to 2008. So please say hello to everyone for
Yeah,
me. And
definitely.
Special Taiko is amazing. Thank you guys for doing that. Yeah, we're Fushu Daiko in South Florida Taiko Dojo. Oh, hey, Baron. And South Florida Taiko Dojo. And we've been around since 1990. Just some big news we received the other day. We're going to have Waka Daiko coming from Japan with Sensei Tanaka, September 15th. And we have a concert scheduled at a center here. We are a not-for-profit Taiko group as well. and happy to be part of TCA. Thank you.
Ron,
Awesome.
do you want to do yours? Sorry, did somebody else speak? Okay, Ron.
Oh, I'm off mute already. All right, I was trying to. Hey, Chris, Florida. My story is the 2020 pandemic chewed me up and spit me out of Florida. I'm in Richmond, Virginia area, doing double duty with River City Taiko up here, but we go down and sometimes for short term, sometimes long term, do things in Florida. We used to be a duo for a long, long time. And now my son and these girlfriends and other people are playing Taiko with them. They train together a lot of times in front of people at performances, things like the Renaissance Festival, where you do the same thing 8 times a day, which has been going on for years. So as far as practice space or any of that, we haven't in years had a spot where we've gone to. So we're probably a little looser, but we we try, we get injured and try a lot too. So
Thank you, Ron. You want to go forward,
Awesome.
Trace? To
Yep.
the next slide.
There we go. All right, Texas Taiko. So we have Dondoko Taiko. I don't know, is anybody on here with Dondoko Gosagi or Dallas Chiari Taiko by any chance? Nope. All right, I'll go ahead and present then. So Dondoko Taiko is based in Fort Worth, Texas. They've been there since 1998, and they were actually founded by, or they were started by Fort Worth's sister city in Nagaoka in Niigata Prefecture, which I thought was pretty interesting. And Nagaoka's Taiko group donated some of their Taiko drums. So that's pretty cool. Go Saigi Daiko is also based in Fort Worth, Texas since 2015. And they were started to create a new and unique Taiko sound in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They write and choreograph all of their pieces. Dallas Chiari Taiko, if anybody knows when they were founded, I tried to do a little research, couldn't tell if it was 89 or 92, but they've been around a long time anyways. And they're often invited to perform at out-of-state gigs like the Arkansas Cherry Blossom Festival, which I think some of the other Southern Taiko groups have in common, being called out to different states, again, because we are a very spread out region and there aren't a whole lot of Taiko groups in each state. But one interesting thing that I learned from the survey is that these 3 groups started to get together since last year to have a little bit of a Taiko gathering amongst themselves to promote some networking. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And then Tracy, did you have a comment too?
Oh yeah, I think Chiari Daiko was 1992, so you got that right. And then Dondoku Taiko, actually, I was one of the people who delivered the taikos to them. So this was a really, really long time ago when I lived in Japan. So yeah, I was a part of that delegation and the person that played the drum for them. So
oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a really, really long time ago. But yeah, and I came with the delegation of the people from the Taiko factory as well as the sister city. Yeah, so it was great. Yeah.
See, it's just like Christina said, Taiko's like the biggest small town in the world here. Awesome. Thank you for adding that. And thanks for correcting that date. That's great. This is what we're all about, making sure we connect and hear all these stories.
We do have people from both groups here. I believe for Austin Taiko, we have Scott, but I did want to show that I have an Austin Taiko shirt because I just thought the bat logo was so neat. I went out and got one. Though I haven't lived in Austin since 1983. So, Sky, are you there? Did you want to introduce Austin Taiko? Maybe not.
Might take a moment to come off of mute. So
And it's totally optional. So if you're
Yeah, Sky
Right.
said, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, they don't have a camera, I see that. Anyway, the neat thing about, the only thing I really know about Austin, Taiko is that they do have the world's largest urban bat colony. People in Austin used to gather and watch the bats
They
either
still do.
return or come out. Yeah. I know we have Andrew here from Kaminari, Taiko. He was in the waiting room longer than anybody.
Okay. Technically challenged just to make sure I got in there all right.
All right.
Hearing me?
Yes, pretty
Yeah,
fine.
so Kaminari Taiko, as it says here, we were founded by Jay Mochizuki, who's he and his wife are a Japanese couple that have been in Houston for many years and deeply involved in the Japanese cultural community in Houston. In '96 is when the Houston Japan American Association asked Jay to form a group for the first annual Japan Fest. And we've been playing at Japan Fest here in Houston since then. Jay is a successful businessman, and he had about 6 years ago, he purchased a building. We had been renting space before that, but we're now in a new building, which is known as the Mochizuki Cultural Center. And we have a very large, very nice dojo space. It's a converted health club. It's got a big gathering, and we can have actually, we just had the New Year's Festival there for another organization in the building itself. We are one of the groups that does travel. We have been playing in Nashville at the Cherry Blossom Festival for 16 years, I think, from the very beginning of that festival. We also play in New Orleans at the Fall Japan Fest in October. So those are the two. So we have Houston Japan Fest, Nashville, and New Orleans are 3 big gigs every year. We do a lot of corporate bookings in and around the Houston area. Houston is a big city. We're the 4th largest city in the country. A very large Asian population, a fairly sizable Japanese population. So there's a lot of, we have a Japanese consulate here as well. So we were just recently invited to, well, Mr. Mochizuki was, he and his wife were honored for their years of cultural input into Houston by the foreign minister in Japan. And we were at the consulate house recently for a small gig. Jay also, back when he started the group, didn't know where to get drums, so he learned to make drums. And he had Mochizuki Taiko Manufacturing Company for a period of time, which is not really in operation anymore. We do make our own drums. We buy the bodies and then shipped in, and then we do all the heading and that sort of stuff. We make our own stands, all that sort of thing. But I was doing some research last week for a little talk that had to be done and discovered that the Grinnell Music Library Museum in Iowa has a Mochizuki drum as their example of a taiko drum. Very, very nice.
Wow.
Anyway, we've spent a lot of years. We have a pretty good relationship with Tanaka Sensei and San Francisco Taiko Dojo. He's been to see us many times and done workshops with us. We've worked with a number of other people, Kenny Endo out of Hawaii and Kaoru Watanabe out of New York. So that's about it. I personally have been playing for 15 years and am currently the president of the board of the organization. I don't see her in the list of people on the call, but Natalie Hudson is our artistic director, and she was going to join us as well. So hopefully she'll either get in late or catch the recording later.
Okay.
Good to meet everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Awesome. All right. Next up, we have South Carolina, Arkansas, and not technically part of the southern region, but we've sort of ish adopted West Virginia and Virginia. So we'll tell you a little bit about those states as well.
Okay. Tracy, did you want to go ahead and do Taiko Charleston?
Sure. I'm the founder and director of Taiko Charleston. We started in 2009. We are a small town and we do not have a great Asian population in Charleston at all. And I had studied and played professionally in Japan. Had a Taiko group in Northern California and had actually stopped for about 5 years. So I said I would never do it again. Yeah, it was just too much. I had babies and it was just too much. But in 2009, series of events gave me the spark to start Taiko Charleston. And when I did, I was like, is anybody going to show up? It's Charleston.
Yeah.
Seriously. But we've been really successful. We have a lot of long time members. We love our community, and yeah, feel very, very blessed and privileged. And we do have we work through a local municipality. So we have a great practice space, which is always so hard. The neighbors aren't too close. And that's always a blessing. But I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm not sure if we have anybody here from Central Arkansas, Taiko. Anybody out there? Okay, so they're a relatively new group and we don't know a whole lot about them yet, but they're the only group in Arkansas that we're aware of. And they have a great tagline on their website that says, "We're on a diet, we don't do cookies." But that's just kind of wrong because, I love cookies. Kurt, do you want to tell us about Django?
Okay. We are probably, as far as I can tell, the only rural, small town community taiko group, I think, east of the Mississippi. I'm not sufficiently expert of the west half of the nation. I'm certain we're the only taiko group in the Panhandle and probably in West Virginia entirely. We're less than a year old. We got started kind of on a fluke. I was asked to do a taiko presentation for the local arts organization's the Kuramatsuri Festival, and I thought, it would be better if it was Kumi Daiko, and I just basically put a hook out with some volunteers, and a bunch of them have hung around and stayed, and so hence the Shango Mountain Taiko, and so we did T-shirts because happy coats are impossible to get in America, yeah, and part of the whole point of Shango, he's actually not Japanese. When I found out that the Shinto god deity of thunder was Raijin, who likes to wipe out villages with tsunamis and mudslides and blow up your house with lightning, so maybe not that guy. So we stuck with Shango from the incarnation of a local World Beat group. Jim Bays and two of our members, myself and one other lady, are survivors of that group, and we kept the name. And the founder said, "I love it, go with it," and so we did. So yeah, we are. Berkeley Springs has no Japanese American community of any noticeable size. No Japan Society, no Zen Temple, no Buddhist church, no college or university. No significant institutional sponsors, and of course our schools are chronically strapped for cash. So it's literally a bunch of hillbillies with sticks trying to have a good time and learn something as you go. And so we're having a lot of fun, but we're actually starting the groundwork of trying to get more established. I consider us a delicate cherry blossom that I'm trying to encourage to take root and grow.
Awesome.
So that's
Thank
the short version.
Thanks, Kurt. All right, on to Virginia, also sort of an adopted southern state because they're technically also part of the East. And who was going to present? Was that you, Keith?
Yeah, that is me though. I
Alistair's
believe
here.
Alistair's
Maybe.
here.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead, Alistair, if you're up for it.
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, these three groups are centered in Richmond, and I'm the director of each of them. But just for history, the first group in Richmond was University of Richmond Taiko Ensemble, and that was founded by one of the professors there, Paul Yoon. He had played with Sodaiko up in New York City.
I've met Paul. Yes, good guy.
Yeah. And he started the group in 2010, which was just about the time that I moved back down to Richmond from New York City, where I had played with a different group. So I had never met him before. But that was the first group that started, and now I direct that ensemble, so it's still going strong. But very quickly, out of University of Richmond Taiko Ensemble, River City Taiko, the community group, grew out of that. Yeah, like it says, they're founded by Paul Yoon. He's not at University of Richmond anymore, and he's not really doing Taiko, although I bump into him occasionally. Kiai Daiko is based at Meadowbrook High School. One of the members of our group, Tsugumi Fukuma, she teaches math and Japanese at Meadowbrook High School. And so she's sort of the sponsor for the Japanese club, which plays Taiko. And so that's how that group originated. But yeah, those are the three groups in Richmond, Virginia. They're all kind of centered on a bit of the same group of people like me and Tsugumi. In terms of practice space, it's been difficult initially. So at University of Richmond has the band room at University of Richmond, so that works out. And sometimes River City Taiko uses that. But for a while we were practicing at a private school that Paul had a connection with. And then we've been lately just extremely fortunate. One of our members has a former Japanese restaurant that she allows us to use as a rehearsal space that's actually near the Richmond Raceway where they have NASCAR events. So it's a naturally noisy area that is, that's noise tolerant. And that's the difficult thing about finding practice space is a neighborhood that's noise tolerant. And so, yeah, we've been around since 2011. COVID was difficult, but we managed to get through. And now that Ron is spending most of his time up in Virginia, he's been playing with us well. So he and I were at rehearsal just yesterday working on things. And yeah, that's pretty much the story as far as I know about Virginia Taiko. I think there was a group in Tidewater somewhere called, oh my gosh, I can't, Soka Daiko. And there was a group at VCU in Richmond called Sora Daiko, but I don't think those are functioning anymore.
Okay. Just making a note.
Yeah, part of the reason that the River City's been adopted is because they're close enough for me to drive to go see.
Yeah, so we go visit them when we can and
Yeah,
watch
Tammy
their
says, look,
performances.
it's only 3 hours away and they're playing 3 songs. Let's go.
Yeah, I say, let's go on a field trip. Let's go to a Taiko field trip. So we do that from time to time.
And networking is networking. So the East be damned, we're taking these guys over. All right, next up, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee. So we don't know of any group in Mississippi currently, but we have seen a shout out on the Taiko community Facebook group. At least one person is interested in Taiko there. She's specifically interested in Bondaiko. So if anybody out there knows of a group or happen to know other people in Mississippi who are interested in Taiko, let us know. We can try to get them connected. Or if any of you groups that travel, out of state for gigs and things, let us know. There's interest out there to learn Taiko, and anything we can do to sort of help that spark catch would be great. Louisiana Taiko, there's also some interest there in starting a group in New Orleans. Don't know if I said that right. New Orleans. But if
from New Orleans.
yeah, I don't know. But again, if you know anybody in the area who's interested or who can help, just let us know. And then Nashville Taiko, I think we have some representation in the house if you want to hop in there and give a little plug about Taiko in Nashville.
Sure. I'm David. I've recently come to Nashville and realized that there's no Taiko group here, so I better start one. I came from Seattle previously, and so
Yay.
a couple of months been working at getting the group going. It's been wonderful to connect with Christina. Christina from TCA has been wonderful so far, helping TCA as a fiscal sponsor for us, helping us to apply for grants to get things started. And it was wonderful to have the connection, as was mentioned earlier in the call. There was somebody that showed interest in Taiko, and so you all, well, some of you connected Ella to me, and now we're regularly communicating. We helped each other build Gomi Taikos, and we're really getting going. We've got, we're looking at shirts, we're looking at procuring some drums, and we're starting to talk about our repertoire. Next is looking at space. So we're really getting started. It's been a lot of energy, but we haven't yet started to practice. I think next weekend will be our first time.
That's awesome.
Is that a Taiko behind you in the background there?
It is. It's an electronic Taiko one. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Those are awesome. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And do I detect a Kiwi accent?
Originally in Australia.
Oh, Australia. All right. Sorry if that was offensive. Kiwi versus Oz.
Is that a Canadian accent I hear?
Mine's from all over.
Andrew, I'm really interested that you came to the Cherry Blossom Festival in Nashville. And so I specifically went to the Cherry Blossom Festival this last year to go to listen to your group. And we're planning to have a stall this next year. We'd love to meet you there and to maybe do some networking and playing maybe beforehand, and maybe connecting next year, and maybe some joint performances or both performing at.
Absolutely, we're excited that someone's getting something started in Nashville. We always wondered why they went all the way to Houston to find somebody, but I guess 15 years ago there were fewer groups than there are now, so maybe we were the closest at that time. Yeah, we'll look forward to meeting you, David. I don't know, is there a way from this meeting that I can get your email, or you can chat me your email address, and I'll.
I'm just going to put my email to everybody. Anybody can contact me if you'd like.
Right. Okay. Great.
Awesome.
Are there any other groups here that we maybe don't have? So anybody from any other groups, just to kind of make sure we're not missing anybody?
Hi, my name is Angel. I'm from Georgia. I don't know if you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Applied for that. So on that first slide, when you mentioned all the defunct groups, I think the first three are essentially the same group. Atlanta Taiko Project, and 1 Hour Drummer. They were all founded by the same person. I think it started, I didn't join until 2016, but I know they've been around since, I want to say, early 2010s. Pretty active until the pandemic. And then, the pandemic was a big factor, but then there were other things. Certain people had other things going on in their lives. And then some of the members actually moved out of town, including the founders. So essentially all three of those groups were retired. However, in the last, I want to say 3 months, myself and 2 other former members have been trying to start a new group with with the instruments and other things that we have. It's been a slow start, since all three of us still have kind of active other things going on in our lives, but we are trying to put something together.
Y'all have a name in mind? You want to pick it back up with the Angel?
No, we're again very, very early stages, so we're still workshopping that.
Okay. Thank you, though. Thank you for sharing. So it helps to know that those are, all defunct now. So, thank you. Anybody else?
And thank you, Tammy, for mentioning that, because I actually forgot to put a little slide in here about Atlanta trying to regroup.
Yeah. So is anybody else out there that is from a different group? I don't want to leave anybody out.
Okay. All right. We did do a survey and gathered some feedback from a lot of groups in the South, which was really, really, really great. Thank you guys for participating. Kind of went through, and this might be a little hard to see all of the categories, but I tried to summarize a little bit of the kinds of challenges that groups and folks in the South are experiencing. And there are some places where I think TCA could help connect with resources, but for example, drums, making, sourcing, affording, maintaining them, that was a big one with a lot of groups. But we also heard a lot of feedback from groups of folks who have, like Tracy mentioned, drum making experience, groups that build, maintain their own drums. So there's a lot of knowledge within the Southern region of folks around making drums, maintaining drums. So maybe there's an opportunity to kind of connect groups that need or want that help, want to learn how to maintain drums. I see some things in the chat here as well. Maybe some way to connect with folks in the South who have that knowledge. Other things, like we mentioned, finding and starting or restarting groups like in Atlanta, Nashville, Louisiana, etc. Booking gigs was brought up. Practice space, of course, some of you have already mentioned it. Finding practice space, having practice space, moving practice space, finding space large enough as your group grows. Other topics, funding, grants and grant writing, finding local partners or support. Like Kurt mentioned, there are some areas that don't have a Japan society or association or university where you might be able to connect and sort of get some help to get off the ground. Fiscal sponsorship. I know we'll talk a little bit about that. TCA's offering that as a new program. Some people want help building repertoire. Other groups only have their own original repertoire. So if there's maybe some kind of networking or exchanging that could go on there. Bridging skill gaps, inspiring commitment in groups. I know we showed on that one slide a list of groups where they're no longer active. Things happen, groups start, groups fade. Sometimes groups kind of go on that little roller coaster of developing where you've got a ton of people and then all of a sudden you turn around, you don't have a lot of people. I think the pandemic certainly caused that with a lot of groups. Training. One group specifically wants to fund a learning trip to Japan. I think that was the group that has that sister city exchange. But just training tips, ideas about how to train. Promoting Taiko awareness, Taiko networking, having a calendar of events in the Southern region, even though we're spread out, maybe we could, like Keith said, travel a little further afield to get to see other Taiko groups in the South. Recruitment, how to find people, especially for those budding groups, how to find people, how to keep people. Transitioning leadership. The groups that have been around longer, certainly that's something that could come up. So this is kind of a summary of some of the challenges that we got in the survey, but I just, I see a lot of things in the chat here. Just wanted to open it up for some discussion, see what people think about these topics, or if there's any ideas that you have of how we, Tammy, Keith, myself, might be able to connect you guys. You can hop off mute or put something in the chat.
I don't know if Ron had a question or if he made field goal arms or if he was just stretching. Okay.
You love to play for dancers, Kevin? So like the Bandori dancers or just any dancers?
It's the South. We watch football, right? So Kansas City touchdown. So 7-14 after this extra point.
Oh.
I gotta tell you, as somebody who's not from this region, I love the energy and the sense of community already in this area. This feels very much like where I live, which is in Tucson, so Southern Arizona. And it's one of those places, right? Like Phoenix is one of the top 10 largest cities in the country also. Like we've got a lot of cool blend of resources out here, but very much like a sleeping giant in that if I say I play Taiko in Arizona and I tell that to somebody maybe on the West Coast, for example, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. They have no idea how large that scene actually is in my neck of the woods. And I get the sense from talking with you all today that that's very much true here. Like I'm hearing like classically trained in Japan and building our own drums, writing our own songs. And these are incredible pedigree things to have for any Taiko group. So I'm gobsmacked and thank you for including me on this conversation today. This has been very awesome. There was a discussion in the chat about Bon Daiko and Bonodori. I don't know how many of the groups in your regions actually do that type of work. But Therese is nice enough to put in the chat for us that there is open source music, Obon music, that TCA helped curate. And it was called the Obon Music Project. And the material, all of it, including the song files, is available on the website at that link. So definitely check that out. And open source means royalty free. Like, please feel free to use it. And most of the stuff that we put up on Taiko Source or anywhere else is considered copy left, which means like if you acquired it and learned it for free, you also share in kind. Is that a hand icon, Kurt? Do you have your hand up?
Yep. Yeah, I did want to just shout out. I'm looking at that chart, and it looks like half of my to-do list. With a brand new, still dropping our bocce group. Pretty much our to-do list is one, expertise and skill building. Just basically and all of it. Our original genesis was about 9 weeks deep. I put out a call for volunteers. We had an event in 9 weeks, and I got folks pretty much my little handful pretty much from square zero to presentable. But presentable and polished are not the same word. So that was, kata and form and kiai and retention and kuchishoga and all of the things. Like I would consider myself a an advanced beginner intermediate player until I realized where square zero is, and oh my God, that's a lot of content. But then that followed with repertoire. We just basically did kind of 2.5 songs for that debut. And which is followed by item 3, which is drums, which connects to item 4, which is become a not-for-profit, so we can, because that leads to the financial side of being able to apply for grants and such, and I think that might be a topic I suspect is coming up, and that's all. And then of course the 5 is gigs, because if you have gigs, people will tend to train. And then, of course, the last item, of course, is recruitment and retention. The things and outs of outrageous fortune, COVID, the economy, the work scene, particularly in a working class town. That's a lot of challenges to keep people on board and of course, I had one lady just damage her shoulder playing Odaiko improperly, and this is okay. Some things we have to be mindful of. And that sort of stuff. But all of those things are absolutely things.
I'm pretty broken, Kurt, and I've had back surgery and everything, and I have different medical conditions. So I've had some times in and out where I'm playing with bandages or playing one-handed or or whatever. So yeah, it can definitely, the physicality of it can affect the different people who are playing Taiko or limit what they can or cannot play.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is definitely something to take into consideration. I will say that I'm kind of a percussion nut, and I find drums in interesting places, which Keith will attest to, because like, yeah, I made him drive me to South Carolina to buy a drum, and
We just
uh,
drove to Ashland, to Columbus, Ohio, to pick up a drum.
yeah,
5 hour ride because someone was selling that
yeah,
guy
Yeah.
yeah, and
for $1,000. Oh my God, we've got to get that drum.
yeah,
So right now
and
you have a mix of drums and other drums.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. We have two, including that one. We have two standard. I guess would be standard Nagano Chudaikos, and Isa Odaiko, the temple style shime. I've got a Tengu Taiko, which is the practice style drums that the Tengu Taiko and people in England make. They're made from culvert pipe and heavy duty vinyl, and they're rigged up Hokkaido style, and they're actually surprisingly good for something that's reasonably affordable. And down in the basement, I have a couple of Gomi Daiko, of course, because especially when I want to do a workshop, and you're like, oh, there's 8 people and there's three drums. All right,
Yeah.
so let's do something about that.
yeah,
But
for
we
those
try-
of you who are interested in getting Taiko, if you let me know, I kind of like am constantly searching different sites like Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and I will see Taiko in different areas. And if I know somebody in that area is looking for it, I can kind of let y'all know.
Yeah, we scored two. We scored two of the drums on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
I have a question. When it comes to the drum, the 23.8%, I'm curious how that breaks down into people who are making and maintaining versus purchasing and sourcing. One of the resources we used, one of the people that we used was Stuart Payton
Yes.
from Burlington Taiko, who came down for 10 days and taught us how to fix drums that had holes in them. And the cost of sending them out, getting them fixed, basically doing that once or twice kind of paid for the learning how to do it ourselves. And I mean, it does take skill. We're fortunate to have someone who does woodworking, but it's certainly something that if having a class like that is it's pretty intense because drum making takes a while. So depending on what and how you want to fix them, patch them, he makes some very interesting practice taiko that are just shells like culvert shells, like big plastic shells.
Yes,
and
that's what Tengu does.
Yeah, and he has it riveted in, skins riveted in, and he can take 40 taiko, practice taiko, out into a field and have people play. It's not taiko drums, but they're good for practice instead of the tape sort of taiko as well. Just a thought.
Yeah, there were a few groups that noted that they have members who, either former members or current members, who do build drums from scratch. And maybe that's something we can follow up on to see if any of the folks that have that expertise are interested in doing something. I think I saw something in the chat about, it'd be great to have some kind of a drum making workshop or workshop series or something in the South. I see Christina nodding her head, but I feel like that's an area where there's a lot of people who say we don't have it. And a lot of people actually, I was surprised to see how many people responded in the survey that they do have that expertise or have had that for a long time and taught that to their groups, where the group is maintaining all of their drums, which is pretty amazing. So I think that's a huge topic for us.
Yeah, Andy here in Houston at Kaminari, we're one of those groups that maintain our own drums. We're lucky in the building we're located in that we have a very large sort of ballroom sized dojo and then a handball court sized workshop where all the drum building tools and everything is separate. So we're able to keep that, sort of operational at all times. Now I've been reskinning and drums now for maybe 5 or 6 years, but not self-taught, but taught by Yaz Pak, who's one of the original members of our group. But I've never had any formal training from a drum maker as such. Yaz learned from Mr. Mochizuki, who had his manufacturing company, but even then they were all self-taught, I think. But because we have that space and we're a large city with plenty of hotels, that kind of stuff, if a workshop here might be of interest, let us talk to us about that. Maybe we can work something out. We've been sort of amongst our own group talking about trying to do a mini Texas region sort of conference, like a workshop at our location, because we've got a nice space. We've got a lot of drums. I think right now we have 19 Nagato and 4 or 5 Odaiko and 2 Ohita Daiko and 3 Nishaku Daiko. We've got a very large collection, and 10.
This is a face of naked envy, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people drooling over here.
Well, listen,
with our random Wii inventory.
Now, a few years ago, just before the pandemic, we I don't know how it came to us, but a music store in California contacted us and said they had a large number of drums. They were going out of business and were really interested in it. So we called them. Long story, we bought 13 Chinese-made stave construction Taiko drums at $500 a piece, which was a steal. Right, and we had them shipped to us, and some of them arrived damaged and whatever, but we ended up with, those are our practice drums, basically. And when we got those, we took all of our original Mochizuki Taiko manufacturing drums, pulled all the old heads off, sent the bodies out to be refinished, and have been in an ongoing process of reheading all those drums. And I think I've got 6 out of 12 done at the moment. And we're still working on that. But so we have a large collection of drums. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the expertise is absolutely out there to draw upon. It is the physical plant and upfront investment in drum making that can be challenging.
Right.
I had a long conversation with Mark Rooney, who's Mark H. Taiko is probably our nearest Taiko neighbors in Tacoma Park, and they're 2.5 hours away, but our nearest neighbors. And I had a long conversation with him after a workshop about drum making, and essentially it's like it only starts to become sensible if you're going to make 3 or more. Because of the cost of the necessary equipment,
right?
And you also need a workshop space where you can keep all that, keep the gear and drums and parts and industrial exhaust fans for when you're finishing bodies and things like that. I had interesting, not so much a fight, but a spirited discussion about the volatile organic compound component of one of our of a really wonderful stain that polyurethane stain that Minwax makes that we cannot use because it will kill us.
Right.
I mean, I think that we can probably facilitate like a discussion or some drum making kind of virtual workshops through y'all, Christina or Wanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but can't we through our system be able to host like a little seminar or something like that, talking about stuff and doing a little show and tell?
Yeah, that would certainly be doable with a laptop and a Zoom cam from our workshop.
Well, I will travel.
And I was also, because I don't think I'm expert enough to be a leader of a workshop. I don't want to, it's the blind leading the blind in that situation, but
Know
I
the
think bringing
feeling.
in somebody from Asano, California, or there's a drum manufacturer like up in Colorado. I can't remember his name.
His name is Jim, and his wife is a TCA board member, so we could totally make that one happen.
Right. So bringing in an actual, professional drum builder to run the workshop, but we'd be happy to provide space if they wanted to do a physical workshop in one location, or if they want to run one from their workshop, from their build to their place, I'd be happy to watch that as well.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of synergy to this idea potentially in the works now. And I'm just interrupting the conversation. Sorry, to be mindful that we are at time. If anyone needs to cut right now, I'm not in a rush. We can stay on and still talk for another few minutes if we want to keep this conversation going as well. Is there any content to our regional ambassadors presenting today that we still have to go through in the slides that we want to capture in recording?
Yeah, so just a few other slides that we wanted to go through, kind of what we're discussing now. What can TCA do for you? So just a list of some items that, I don't know, Christina, you could probably speak to a little bit better, like the fiscal sponsorship, et cetera. And then ways that TCA, or ways that we as a Southern group can help TCA, sort of kind of like this discussion, how we can kind of bubble up the needs that we have, or ideas or opportunities for networking that TCA can kind of work to bring us together. And then ways that specifically Tammy, Keith, and myself can help you as ambassadors. So.
Yeah, and I'll just say we've been touching base through the conversation today a little bit about fiscal sponsorship. For those that don't know, in a nutshell, fiscal sponsorship allows an entity that is a nonprofit like TCA to collect funds on your behalf, whether they be donations from individuals or grant monies. And that gives you access to fundraising at a broader level than maybe you as an individual sole prop or LLC currently have access to. So if you have any questions on that, please email us and let us know. Taiko Source does also have open access repertoire, which we shared. We do webinars like this, but we also do leadership topics. We do webinars now called Doros and Cents, which is about the financial elements of grant writing and fundraising and stuff for Taiko groups. Every August, we open up applications for TCA grants. We currently have the capacity to fund about a third of the applications that we receive each year, but there are some people in this very room who are recipients of TCA grants in the past. And we also have TCA partners, which is just a handful of vendors like Asano, like Cadone, who have said, you know what, if you're a TCA member, let us know you're a member and we'll give you a discount on our wares, which is pretty darn cool. The stuff I personally am asking for this region that I need help with this year is putting your group on the map on our Taiko Source page, because we're building that back up from scratch post-pandemic. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of groups that have gone inactive. We also are doing our Taiko census later this year, and I would love every group in the region to just have at least one representative participate so that we truly have a fair guesstimate of the Taiko population in your area. Any events coming up like that, you said that there was going to be a big concert in September, Fushu Daiko. I'd love to see that on our events calendar so we can help boost the signal on that for you. And if there's any songs that you want to share as open source for the Taiko community, there's a way to do that too. So, but everything else, the last 4 bullets on this slide, I think we're already talking about it in real time. So I'm not going to waste time saying them again.
Yeah, awesome. And then this is just a little clip of the Taiko source map. It's a Google map. You can go on there and, like Christina said, you can add your group. And just a little thing of the Taiko census, the kinds of stats that they get and gather. But otherwise, I think I'll go back to that pie chart and we can continue discussing until Christina says we have to stop our call.
It's Zoom.
Yep. And with that, I will stop the recording.